Hey, welcome back to the channel. So, I'm not making this little video today because I'm bored. And usually when I'm bored or idle or not creating something, I start guessing on cameras real hard and thinking about, boy, if I had this camera, I could do this. If I had that camera, I could do that. And I'm just trying not to be bored with my creativity. So that's what I'm out doing today. And this video is probably going to save me about $4,000 or so. And I think it's worth it to come out and just shoot the breeze a little bit and talk about what's on my mind. I went to a funeral of a World War II veteran. He was 100 years old. Can you imagine? 100 years old. He was a medic in the airborne division, and he served during World War II, and he was there for D-Day and was part of the Battle of the Bulge. Two of the most famous battles in World War II, I would say. And I've known that, and I've listened to his stories before, but I never really pressed him too hard on what it was like to be in World War II, because being a medic at those two battles, you can imagine he's probably seen some stuff, and probably seen some stuff that he doesn't want to remember or doesn't want to pass on to anybody else. So I just always was respectful of what he was willing to share, was happy with what he was willing to share, but never pressed him on any kind of details or anything. But I did get some information out of him about how he got into D-Day. He was a medic, and he flew in on a glider. That's pretty much all he said to me. That's pretty much all I know. And I decided I'd watched a lot of stuff about World War II, of course, and have done the TV shows and done a little bit of research here and there, but not a lot. But I never heard of a glider before, so I got onto YouTube and kind of was investigating a little bit, and it's crazy what he went through just to get to Normandy. What they did was, over in England, they tied a glider to an actual airplane, one that was carrying airborne troops, parachuters, and they would pull that glider along behind them. And then they would get to where they were going, they would cut the rope, and then the glider would come in and basically controlled crash somewhere. And I think the glider was big enough to hold like a small Jeep, but they carried like small equipment in there, and soldiers. That's what they carried in the gliders. But I got on YouTube. I was trying to research a little bit, and got on YouTube and started looking at what these gliders were, and it was unbelievable. I mean, basically it was like tent poles, aluminum, super light duty aluminum poles, and canvas with like a wood floor. I mean, the bare basics of what they could get airborne. And anyway, they like I say, they tied it to a plane. They towed it with the plane, and they just came in. They cut the rope, and they just came in a controlled crash landing wherever they were. It just got me thinking about the bravery that people during World War II, how much bravery they showed just doing their jobs, And he acted like it was just no big deal. And I'm sitting there looking at that glider on YouTube thinking, that had to have been the scariest thing. I can't even imagine getting one of those and thinking it was a good idea, and how brave you have to be just to get in one of them suckers, let alone let it fly over the ocean and crash landed in some foreign country surrounded by enemy troops. And that's not just the bravery of those particular guys in the airborne, the parachute people, and doing it on gliders, but just also the guys that are getting into the boats that are driving up to Normandy and storming the beach. I mean, they had to be getting onto those boats and just petrified and scared to death, but they got on them. I don't know what the penalty would have been for them not getting on there, but as far as they all did it and got on them boats and took the beaches, and and not only that, but those, if you've watched anything about the airplanes, fighting people at 30,000 feet, a guy hanging in a ball turret on the bottom of the plane, just hanging there, pretty much a sitting duck, more or less. I mean, just some of the stories that you hear from coming out of World War II, and looking back and doing some of the research, it's just amazing the bravery that those guys showed. Sometimes YouTube, I get really frustrated with it because you kind of beat your head against the wall, and it's just a place for sales to happen and people to push products and stuff like that. But there's also people out there that are continuing on with these stories and producing content, keeps the story going, keeps the story alive. And I think that's an important mission. And I think that's great. And that's a great part about YouTube. I'm like 2 generations removed from World War II. And to be honest with you, coming through high school and college, if somebody told me about the Battle of the Bulge or D-Day, I wouldn't know just a whole lot about it, to be honest with you. Everything I know about it is, what I've seen on TV and movies that are made about it. And I think it's so important to not forget those stories and keep the stories alive and tell and pass on to the next generation the bravery, that those men showed as they just did their job. They just carried on like it wasn't anything. I mean, it's pretty amazing if you think about it. If you're out there and you don't know much about World War II, or you're just kind of mildly interested in it, I would highly encourage you to get on YouTube and do some research about it, and watch the History Channel every now and then. Just kind of be familiar with it and try to pass on those stories to the next generation. It's so important that they know, that they remember, and that the stories of the greatest generation continue to live on. We could never repay them. We could never repay them. And the bravery. Just think about getting in one of them boats before you storm Normandy. Like how crazy that scene must have been. And how scared some of those guys must have been. And how brave they had to be to get on that boat. It's unbelievable. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.